tell us briefly about yourself, your hobbies, your likes and dislikes.
Well, that's a very interesting. um, so when it comes to myself, I love to read. Though most of what I read is through audiobooks, and I enjoy spending a lot of time listening to music. I do a lot of digital drawings on my phone, and I think I would say the most of my time I just spend like listening to a lot of music, writing lyrics when the thought strikes me, or just mostly engaging in anything to do around music a lot of the time.
So you also write music. What inspires you while writing your lyrics or songs?
It really depends on what I'm going through at the moment. So depending on what my emotional state is, that's what the song tends to be about. For example, I had written and recorded a song called which hasn't been released yet, but it's more based around the anxiety of not knowing what you're going to do with your life, because I had had a conversation with my sister, and she was in that state where she didn't know what she wanted to do. She was scared, like she didn't know what was going to happen to her after this. Like she was struggling to get a job, and thankfully now she does have a job. But based around that idea, I sort of found this interesting thing, which with humans, where all of us seem to go through that period when we don't know what's next, and we don't know whether we want to take a risk by trying something different, or do we want to stay stagnant by being in our comfort zones. So I had written a song based around that. So yeah, it really depends on what my emotional state is when I write.
And you were diagnosed with a rare medical condition called Stargardt macular degeneration. So I believe this is quite new. Like me being a journalist, also it was quite new for me when I heard about this condition. So if you could tell us briefly about this condition.
To be honest with you, I have done my research into it, but it still sort of escapes. Certain things still escape me. All I know is that it's a condition which occurs due to some genetic mutation, and it seems to occur due to a mutation in the ABCA4 gene, which I don't know what that is, but um, so what happens is the cells in your eyes, which are called the macular. So this condition, it causes those cells to, from what I've read, it causes those cells to degenerate, and because there's degeneration, your vision slowly starts to deteriorate over time, and it usually occurs before you are 20 years old. The symptoms will start appearing before you're 20. So my symptoms started probably around when I was 10 to 11 years old, and I was diagnosed when I was 12.
So I believe there's no cure for this disease, Mola.
As of yet, not really, because I think people are still trying to, like I said, even because there are so many genes that are linked to this condition. So the most common is the ABCA4 gene, but there have been cases where other genes are involved as well. And like because of that, I think scientists are having a hard time sort of isolating the problem completely. But from what I have been reading, I believe there is people are looking into stem cells to see if they can solve the issue through that.
So tell us when and how did you realize or experience your first symptoms and then knew that you had this condition?
So I must have been 10 years old towards the end of class 5. Yeah. So towards the end of class 5, my mom and my dad, they sort of realized that I was talking to them, but my eyes were focusing somewhere else. My eyeballs tend to veer towards another direction, and they sort of got worried, and then we got checked at the hospital, and the doctors then at that time, because it's such a, I think they didn't really know about the condition at that point. So I wore glasses for like a whole year of class 6, and I still was having trouble seeing. Then when I was in the 7th grade, my dad took me to Chennai during the summer holidays, and we went to this renowned eye hospital called Shankar Netralaya, and that was where they they diagnosed it. And also, I think it was Dr. Kunzang Wandi, who had suspected that it could be Stargardt's, and he was the one who had actually sort of advised my father to maybe get more, like go abroad to get it confirmed. And since I was 12 years old, the doctors weren't allowed to tell me what the condition was because I wasn't old enough to understand. So I remember my father leaving me in the waiting room, and my dad went into the room with the doctor, and they spoke for quite a long time in there. And all I did was I actually fell asleep on the sofa. And after that, I think my mom and dad sort of explained things to me in a very, I wouldn't say they didn't really treat me like a little kid. They sort of understood how to explain this condition to me and sort of never let me feel that I was inadequate or that I should let this thing dominate my life from that point onwards. So yeah, I don't think I really felt anything regarding my condition at that point. But when I got a little older, and when I was 17 years old, and when I was in Calcutta again for summer holidays, and also to get a follow-up check. So that point, I remember I did have a little bit of a harder time because I guess I was expecting better news, but that news wasn't really what was meant for me, I suppose.
Right, you were just 17 that
Yes.
time. So you were quite young that time. So what were your immediate thoughts, and then what did you feel? Were you hopeful or sad?
When I went to Calcutta, I was hopeful because I knew that the condition was progressively going to my eyesight was going to progressively deteriorate, but I still sort of held out hope that maybe things would get better. And when I did go, I remember the doctor talking to me, and we were just talking about it, and he sort of explained that it seems that my vision has gotten worse when they compared it with my previous reports. And I did not really emotionally take it very well, which I think led to me having a few rather dark thoughts. And yeah, it was really not the best time of my life at that point.
I believe you also had suicidal thoughts.
Yes.
So if you could just tell us, how did you overcome such thoughts?
Overcoming those thoughts, well, for the way I would say is that I overcame them through music, because I don't know whether it was fate or whether it was just a very, very, very fortunate coincidence that when I was in Calcutta, one of my favorite bands had released their album, and I got a hold of that album, and I was just listening through that album while I was thinking about what the doctors had said to me, and I came across one song which I really enjoyed, and then I was going through the lyrics, and then I realized the lyrics sort of emulated, like the lyrics, I could relate to the lyrics, and at that point I think that really was the kick in the chin that I needed, and it sort of broke me out of that spiral. And after that it was just a case of, you know what, like we all go through, like no one's, the cards we are dealt in life aren't really fair or unfair. They're just the cards that are dealt to us. And sometimes we just have to get the help we need and try to make the best of whatever situation comes our way.
And I was watching the documentary that was based on you, done by BBS2.
Yes.
So I was watching your parents' interview as well. So I saw your mother was very emotional about your condition. So how did your family, friends, parents support you during your hard time?
I think they supported me by just being there for me when I needed them. I think that's the most important thing, that they were never, like I can talk to my mom and my dad about this condition very openly, and they always. I don't think what I mean is, like, when it comes to my friends and my family, they never treat me like this condition is something that's debilitating towards for me. They've always given me the strength to push on and try to get through whatever struggles or obstacles I've been going through in my life. And I think that's what that's something that's really important, is that you need to have a very strong, that I had the fortune of having a very strong support system that can raise me up and keep me, keep pushing me forward.
Now you are an artist, singer, songwriter. So how does art fuel your passion for life?
That's a very loaded question. I like being able to do things which are a little different, I suppose. A lot of what I try, whenever I write my own music or whenever I try to do something, I try to do something that's a little non-conventional, would be the word, I suppose. Like, in terms of my music, I try to incorporate my mother's language, the language that I speak with my family, which is King. So I try to incorporate that into my music. I try to write about themes that are very specific to me, but can also be interpreted, and hopefully other people can relate to as well. And I think that's, like, for me, because music got me out of such a difficult point in my life. I think I really tend to go a lot towards music and try to see if I can do anything different in that field, which can be a little bit challenging at times, because the musicians that I work with sometimes have a harder time grasping what I'm trying to do. And yeah, but that's the fun of it also, I suppose, the fact that everyone can have a different opinion about the same thing that we're working on, and you get a product that isn't fully my own idea, but at the same time is a weird amalgamation of different ideas that have come through.
Right. And you were mentioning that when you were just 17, you knew about your condition, and then there was a song released by your favorite band, and it inspired you. So now, as an artist, as a singer, songwriter, do you also aspire to write songs that maybe inspire your listeners who are going through bad times, maybe?
That's the hope, I suppose. I don't go out to, I don't write with the idea that I want people to feel good. Like, okay, that's a very weird way to say it, but I don't, like, write music hoping that people will get inspired by it. I just write it, and I hope that, that whoever gets something out of it gets something out of it, and those who don't, it's fine if they don't also, because at the end, it's a very subjective thing. If it helps someone, I'm very happy that it does. And if people just enjoy it and don't really, or as you put it, aren't really inspired by it, then that's also not really a big issue for me, I suppose. I'm just happy to get whatever is up here out into the ether.
Right. And in simple words, can we say that music makes you happy and forget your condition?
I would say music does make me very happy. I would not say that it makes me forget my condition. I never forget my condition. I think I've learned to accept that there are certain limitations from it, and learned to not let those limitations bog me down. If it's one way, that if I can't do it myself, then I'll figure out a way to do it with somebody else's help. But yeah, music does make me very happy, and not just music, anything. Actually, in my life, I think I've been very fortunate to have people and friends who make me happy. Music makes me happy. Meet people who are like-minded, and just experience this melting pot of ideas and creative opinions that I've been very fortunate to come across.
And you also call yourself as a diversely abled person. And I see lots of optimistic views or optimism in your views. So how do you manage to stay so positive?
How do I manage to stay so positive? I think I would say that I stay positive by understanding the reality of my situation. Like I said, I know what my limitations are, and knowing your limits can actually help you. Knowing and accepting your limits helps you understand how best to circumvent those limits. So yeah, I think that's the way I would say I'm positive. It's just that, to me, like I said earlier, these are the cards that were dealt to my life, and there are everyone has different cards that are dealt to their life, and we are all trying to get through this. And I think the most important thing is to know that if you fall down, it's okay to fall down, but you got to learn to pick yourself up. You got to get used to the taste of dirt in your mouth. But you shouldn't let that be the reason that you're grounded. Get back up, try again, and make the best of it, and know that sometimes things are not within your control, and it's fine to relinquish that control and just take life as it is and just have a good time while you're doing it.
I interviewed a cancer survivor and a girl who suffered from depression also earlier. So when I interviewed them, they were kind of saying this experience, actually, whatever the reason for whatever they went through in their life, they said that it kind of inspired them, and then they feel they became better person. So do you feel your condition has made you better as a person in a positive way?
I hope it has. I think that's more of a thing for people who come across me. I don't know if I am a better person because of this condition, because I have always just been the person that I am. I'm very loud, very crass in the way that I am. I have a very, very what would be the word? Dark sense of humor, and I don't go out to harm anyone. I wouldn't say that, but like I said, I just live the way that I am, and I am the way that I am, and so far no one's complained, so I guess it's worked out.
If there is one thing you could change about your life, what would that be?
Should have invested in Bitcoin. Yeah, that's what I feel. I should have invested in Bitcoin.
It's not late, I guess. You can still invest.
Yeah, but now I don't have the money to invest in Bitcoin.
Okay. So your advice for our viewers who might be going through hard times themselves?
I think the first most important thing is to accept that you are going through something hard. Don't deny the fact that you're going through something difficult. I think every time you deny that you're going through a difficult time in your life, if you keep denying that, that is one of the biggest risks and dangers of that has a lot of consequences. So you need to accept that you're going through a hard time. And acceptance does not mean that you are weak. It means that you have understood that, yes, I'm going through this and I need help. Right. And the second thing would be to get the help that you need, and it doesn't have to be directly like medical help. Just finding somebody who you can trust, who you look up to, somebody who you know will not judge you for what you're telling them, and letting what you're going through out, because there is a very, very there is a form of catharsis that takes place when you are able to vent what you're going through. For example, when it was with me, whenever I'm going through a hard time, I vent to my mom, to my wife, and it's really important to vent when you're going through a hard time, to let people know that you're not doing well, and you don't need to tell the whole world about it, but you do need to let that out. And then from that point onwards, I wouldn't know how you would need to move on from that, because like I said, everyone's experiences are a little different. But I think the two most important things would be to firstly accept and understand that you are going through something that's difficult and challenging. And the second would be to vent that feeling, to let somebody that you trust know about it. And then from then onwards, it's just one foot in front of the other.
Right, I think that was a very good piece of advice. Denial. Most people, they live in denial. So accepting what you are going through, I think that really helps. Yes. Mental health is one of the pressing issues among the youth, especially in Bhutan right now. So you have also experienced, you have also been through hard times, you had suicidal thoughts. So what would be your advice for our viewers who might be suffering from mental health right now?
I think, like I said, first thing, find somebody who you can talk to, somebody you trust, and more than those people who are going through mental health issues, I think it's more important for those people within our society to understand that mental health is not a joke. I think we are still a society that dismisses it. We don't want to talk about it. We don't want to. We seem to. Actually, it sort of borders on where we seem to be even making fun of people who go through mental health issues. Mm. We seem to judge people who are going through mental health issues. And that's my advice, is not to the mental health people who are living with mental health. It's more towards people who seem to think that it's not that much of a big deal. It is a very big deal, because, like I said, our society seems to dismiss it. It seems to say things like, it's a past life ki problem. Don't say stuff like that. Don't water down that issue, because it has consequences for somebody who's actually going through it. When you say things like that, it stops these people from being able to come forward with their issues to get the proper help that they need. So, yeah, don't water down the issue. Don't be what's the word here? The word's like on the tip of my tongue. Don't treat it like it's something that you can just sleep on, and you can't be like, oh, just sleep on it and you'll be fine in the morning. No, these are things that can completely ruin somebody's life. So we need to stop being dismissive about mental health. I think we still have a long ways to go in terms of our society, in terms of our community, when it comes to how we deal with people who come forward asking for help because they are going through something in their life.
And as we end our program, my last question to you is, as you said, music fuels your soul and keeps you going. Tell us briefly about the recent project you're working on.
So in the recent one that I'm working on is actually, I just finished writing the lyrics. I haven't made the music. Mm-hmm. It's called Everyday People. Mm-hmm. So it's a song that I sort of wrote based around what was happening with the coronavirus pandemic. Also about how, in general, how people are affected. Like, we seem to not understand what other people are going through, that we can't empathize with them. So it's a song that's based more around that, the fact that everybody is going through a struggle in their life, and we are all trying to just make it to the end of the day, and just trying to keep pushing ourselves to go forward. So it's something based around that.
The song is entitled as Everyday People, right?
Yes.
Okay, we'll really look forward to the music. And Kinley, thank you very much for your time and sharing your thoughts and insight with us.
And thank you for having me.
And good luck with your upcoming album.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.